what lurks behind this unassuming storefronts in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic. Learn the history of Wicca and the tale of those who brought it to the United States. See the tools of magic, once used by practitioners of the arcane arts. It's the Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic.
Welcome back to the newly reopened Buckland Museum of Witchcraft and Magic here in Cleveland, Ohio, featuring magical artifacts on display collected by Dr. Raymond Buckland over the years. I operate this museum. My name's Stephen Aramel, and I do it in partnership with my wife, Jillian, and our partner, Tony Rotunda. So we are now by ticketed appointment only. It's actually been really good with only 6 people at a time. Our guests are really enjoying the personalized experience that they can have here. So visit bucklandmuseum.org to figure out how to do that. But here in the now, we are hosting a meditation with Sade Wolfkitten for the summer solstice. We were hoping that we could host a small gathering in our back parking lot. But there's a bit of a chance of rain, so we just thought we'd socially distance here in the museum. So that's pretty exciting. Sade's actually here in the museum, which which is fantastic. We're learning how to live in this like new space that's been created for us. Just a heads up, pretty soon we're going to be speaking with some members of the Starwood organization, or I guess it would be the Association for Consciousness Expansion, the people that run Starwood. Soon to discuss Starwood 39.5, their upcoming festival that will be taking place in the Zoom world. That's July 7th through 13th. It's going to be a good time, so visit starwoodfestival.com for details. So anyway, due to Sadie being in the museum proper and not from home, we can't really talk too much because of delay that happens with the mic. But let's pour up here and see how this goes for a second. Welcome, Sadie. How's it going?
Hello. It's wonderful to be back here again.
So you can hear it's kind of cavernous when we're speaking to each other, which makes it kind of cool because it's like in a mystic dark cave, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to throw it over to you here. Please take us on the summer solstice meditation that I've been looking forward to for the last couple weeks. And I'm going to mute my mic so there's no sound effects added.
Okay.
And thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And to the rest of you, blessed be and welcome. I'm glad you have all joined me here for an experiment in virtual meditation. We have now reached the summer solstice, or Litha, the longest day of the year. This is one of the 8 pagan holidays that make up the wheel of the year. As you may know, for the holidays are comprised of solstices and equinoxes, while the other 4 happen at the midway points in between them. We stand now halfway across the wheel from Yule, and though the summer season is only just beginning for us here in the Northern Hemisphere, this is also the point when we have reached the sun's peak, and now we're beginning our slow decline back towards the dark days of winter. The summer solstice is a peak experience, in some ways magically similar to the full moon. We've raised up our power, and now we're sending it forth, the seed of our hoped-for changes sown. This particular solstice, however, is also a new moon and a solar eclipse. We weren't able to see it here in Ohio, but sensitive sorts may well be feeling it. And sun and moon are both now in nurturing Cancer, So the sun's peak is shadowed by the moon's emotional demands. We've certainly seen a lot of strong emotion building on every side in recent weeks, and we find ourselves now in the position of purging old notions that are no longer serving while we're being presented with a new cycle that may focus more on what's in our hearts. So with today's meditation, I hope to guide us through circles within circles that will ultimately spiral us back to a new beginning. As always, I invite you to kick back, listen, and allow yourself to experience the journey through the wonders of imagination. This should last close to an hour, so before we get started, I always ask folks to turn off their phones, set them to vibrate, and as much as possible, close out any distractions in your immediate environment. I usually begin these by putting up a protective sphere around the group. My background is in a fairy tradition, so I use 7 directions in addition to the standard north, south, east, and west. I add above, below, and center. Since we aren't sharing the same physical space today, I'm read an abbreviated version of these. You don't need to face them, but do try and focus your attention on each in turn. So, are you ready? I will be after this, just a moment. All right. Let's begin by putting up our sphere to hold all of us here together in virtual space, wherever our physical bodies may currently be. We begin creating our sphere in the north. So by ancient earthwork, fort, and barrow, at the midnight hour on the winter solstice, I call up castle walls and hobbit holes and rough-hewn timbers, the gifts of the material plane, the strength of foundation, earth to the ground. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. Turning to the east, by the piper at the gates of dawn, at sunrise on the morning of the spring equinox, I call up bursting crocus and hyacinth perfume, the clarity and wisdom of understanding to speak to us in the tongue of wind. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. And turning now to the south, with the passion of lovers at midday at summer solstice, I call up lust for life, ecstatic dance around midsummer bonfires, the will, the passion, and the spark that heats our loins and brings a flush to the face. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. And from the west, with prayers for rain, at twilight on the eve of the autumn equinox, I call up mystic insight from the rainbow's end, where the sky meets the sea and the space between the worlds is thin, the depth of compassion, the drink of dreamers. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. We look now to the above with the diamond bullet of enlightenment from crystalline towers and iridescent spheres. I call up inner knowledge, the spiritual plane, the light of fully expanded awareness, the endless reflection of a mirror looking into itself. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. And to the below, with the velvet cloak of endarkenment from the 0 point, the void, the no thing that never was, I call up the endlessness of infinity, emptiness, and stillness, the mysteries of the tomb, and the knowledge of that which is not, the darkness on the edge of forever, the starless mire. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. Finally, the center. With the multifaceted gem of reflection, from that central point round which all else revolves, I call up the all that is, the calm at the center of the storm, the line between the yin and the yang, unity and the reconciliation of all opposites. Join us now, if you will, in this sphere of creation. This can be seen as protected space, large enough to hold us all within, keeping us safely together. As this stream is potentially available to anyone, anywhere on the planet, let's visualize this sphere as encompassing the whole of Mother Earth, holding us all, warding off that which threatens, even if only for a little while. Each of you is assisting with this sphere, holding it up with your energy, your presence here with us today, or at any future time you may see this. We are co-creators of this reality. So for a time, we're going to envision a safer, saner, healthier world together. I want to begin by making sure everyone is sitting comfortably with your back as straight as possible. Your spine is an energy channel for nerve impulses, for your chi, but it's also a divining rod that connects you through your chakras to the world around you, of which we are still a part. We are in the world as cells are in a body. If you haven't already, I'll ask you now to close your eyes and begin breathing slowly and fully. Feel your breath circle in, moving down and through you, expanding your throat, your lungs, your belly. With each breath you take in, feel yourself becoming more relaxed. As with each breath you breathe out, more and more stress, tension, and everyday cares are leaving you. As you relax and begin to settle more, feel this energy that is flowing in move further and further into your body, pushing through any blockages, moving down your arms and out from your palms, as it now moves down your legs, out through the soles of your feet, and even further now, moving through your spinal column, down, down, seeking the earth beneath us as the roots of a tree seek water below the soil. Feel your roots spread out below you, seeking that nourishment, that connection. And as you do, notice too, that despite the physical distance of our bodies, your roots begin to encounter others. Roots put out in this virtual circle on and on. Feel your roots reaching out to each person tuned in here, entwining and nestling together. Our roots are forming their own circle below us, connecting us all inside our protective sphere, rooting us in the earth that supports us and is our home. And draw in another breath now, a new breath, one that is moving upward. This breath fills your head, the space behind your eyes, still moving up and up until at last that energy begins to bubble up from the top of your head, spilling out like a fountain, arching and splashing gracefully. And as it does, the drops begin to mingle with those of others in the circle, sparkling and dancing, creating another circle above us of light and liquid and air, gently connecting us with soothing sound of water music and quiet flashes of rainbow refraction. As our roots did below, so too let this fountain reach out and across, connecting you with each person here in this liminal space until we are linked above as below, a perfect double sphere of energy and intent that surrounds and protects us. Now we have entered a new realm, in a time that is not a time, and a place that is not a place. The spheres that hold us have become a world of our own making, a place we can safely gather, a place you can return to whenever you wish. And so, in your mind's eye, I'd like you to envision yourself right where you are sitting now, in your living room, bedroom, backyard, wherever you may be, as that is where we shall begin, right where you are sitting now. However, it is a lovely day, and you've been inside so long, too long. Therefore, you decide it's time to take a walk. Prepare yourself however you feel most comfortable. We are inside our protective sphere here, but do what feels best to you for going outside, even to an imaginary destination. Let's head out now, outside of your home and into the fresh air. Pick what seems the most peaceful direction to you, and let's set off. As you head down the road, you pass familiar landmarks, whether those be houses, apartment buildings, businesses, or neighbors' mailboxes. But you haven't gone very far at all before your attention is drawn to a sliver of land, barely wider than a driveway and somewhat overgrown, that you somehow just never noticed before. You stop and look, seeing that the far end of it is richly green, shady, and beckoning. Sure no one is watching, you turn into this unexpected lane off the main route for what you tell yourself will just be a quick exploration. Although this small patch of land seemed slightly less than an overgrown alley when first you turned down it, you find that it seems to get a bit longer and a bit wider with each step you take, and the green at the end is becoming both deeper and brighter the farther you go as well. And though an end doesn't seem to draw any nearer, as you progress, you begin to hear the sweet trill of bird songs. That's the melodic plashing of a fountain. Though you have gone further down the weedy path than you initially thought possible, at last you do reach an end to it. You are surprised to see a wrought iron gate rising from a tangle of hedge stretching off in both directions. It is flanked by a Gothic ornamental column on either side. Each column is filled with Art Nouveau tracery and topped by an old-fashioned carriage-style lantern. The gate itself arches upwards towards the middle, each vertical rail ending in a formidable spike. This might seem the end of your journey, but you decide to take one closer, longing look beyond the fence before retracing your steps. To your surprise, the gate swings silently open as you step forward, a clear invitation to explore a little further. And indeed, the vista that opens ahead of you makes clear that was the right decision. Stately trees arch overhead, casting everything in a dappled golden light. And while you had been following a track of dirt, scrub grass, and weeds up till now, here the way forward is cobbled, a pathway neither quite brick nor exactly stone, but partaking of the qualities of each. You look around, realizing the space you see is regularly bounded, at a distance near enough to be apprehensible, but far enough you cannot clearly make out what lies beyond. There is a suggestion of walls outside this space, pale stucco and dark shaded windows, mostly masked from view by the lush greenery topped by red tile roof. At some point in the near distance, the boundary behind you connects with these edges, angling out and away from you, stretching to the right and to the left in a way that is neither rigid nor square. The path you followed in leads a little way ahead before joining a broader, circular promenade. Both directions seem equally appealing, so you pick one and stroll a little further on. The trees seem mostly to grow along the outer borders of this park. Closer to the walkway, there are flowering shrubs, overhanging velvety mosses and creeping myrtle, while taller plants stretch towards the sun a bit further back. The air is moist and fragrant, but comfortable. Now and again, you see a stone urn or a planter nestled amongst the growth, spilling out an even brighter array of flora. Begonias and petunias vie with peonies and climbing roses to catch your eye. The colors here are dense and saturated, adding to the sense you have stepped into another realm beyond the one you know. The path continues, curving gently onwards, following the outer walls that have all but disappeared behind the greenery. At some point, you realize you have strolled far enough in, you no longer see the entry gate. You notice that the outer boundary has angled back, now narrowing unexpectedly inwards. After a few minutes more enjoying this outer path, you sense more than see coming to meet the one that you've been shadowing in a definite point. A curious shape indeed for a garden, you think, for as you reach that point and look back, you understand this to be a five-sided space, not four as human gardens so often are. Here then, at the peak of this pentagonal enclosure, you stand across from the gate you entered by. Though the park is large enough you cannot see it, only vaguely guess its location by a break in the outer growth of trees. Fitting for what is the crown point of this natural jewel, here you find a few ancient-looking broad flagstone steps with wide, curving stone banisters flanking either side, descending presumably towards the center. The sound of a cooling fountain can be heard for certain as well, promising a lovely summer's destination. Don't hesitate before descending the picturesque steps. At the base is another circular walkway, so for curiosity's sake, you choose the opposite branch. Here again, the plantings along the walkway's edge are unbelievably lush, filled with fragrant blooms of every description. There are stone seats now and again along the way, and you begin to understand why, for this track seems to feel a wish to rest a moment before continuing on. The outer walls, only just discernible behind the trees on the upper level, cannot be seen at all from this pathway, nor is the pentagonal shape as clear. Here, you feel you are more certainly traversing a large circle, and so expect that eventually you might catch a glimpse of the entry gates as you return to that point on the wheel. But whether the vegetation is simply too thick, or you're not quite in the spot you thought you were, there is no suggestion of their spires to be seen above you. Perhaps it's due to the shade of the thickly grown plant life, but things may seem a little less bright here as well. Instead, as you finally approach what seems it must roughly be the same spot, you find another stone staircase leading down yet another level. Here, an archway of purple wisteria masks the bottom of the steps from view, although there are no more than 6 or 7 in all. These too have stone railings to either side, which embrace the curves of, yes, a third circular pathway, though soon their weathered arches are lost to sight amidst the tangle of greenery. Here, the plants seem more ancient, larger, and wilder. Prehistoric ferns, giant palms, and overhanging tropical foliage of a sort you'd not think to find in this area. The bird songs, too, have grown more raucous, the sound of a fountain as likely that of a brook or small stream. This pathway traces an even wider arc than before, so that the curve is gentle, if not as clear. You debate only a moment. It seems a long trek, but what better way to pass an early summer evening? And then begin your circuit of this most curious park for a third time. Somehow, here, the trees too seem older, clustered more closely together. Some grow in unusual gnarled or curved trunks, forming little bowers beneath where once stone benches sat, but now are worn or grown over so that they seem more like naturally occurring rocks. Still, the effect is charming if a little wild. Were it not for the promise of cool falling water ahead, you might be tempted to dally in any one of them a while, despite the fact that evening seems to be drawing curiously near. As you walk, you realize these forest bowers seem evenly spaced along the way for all their unconstructed beauty. You think to count. Yes, you've passed 1, 2, a third, and though it seemed to take much longer this time, you come at last to a fourth that you instinctively know is directly across the compass from the wisteria-hung stairs. You are not then surprised to find a third stairway of sorts. This one is mere logs set into the hillside, bounding and holding in the packed earthen steps. These do not descend in quite as orderly a fashion, as some of the bounds appear to be merely large old tree roots, which you must pick your way carefully across as you head down. When at last you do reach the bottom, you find the source of the water you heard. It is, in fact, a stream, burbling cool and clear across the rocks. You may decide to kick off your shoes and wade in away, or even pause for a drink. As you rise, though, you see that there is something in the near distance, something large that is surely neither the walls around nor the gate into the garden you entered at first. You are intrigued, but the water rushes fast and deep enough you dare not try to wade across at this juncture. Returning to the bank, you note that while the growth underfoot is here nearly as weedy and wild as the alley you first followed, there is less of it, perhaps even the trace of a path, on one side, so you choose to proceed in hopes of finding a way across. And in short order, you are rewarded. To your surprise, you find a stone bridge with wide, cascading away in an almost tunnel-like fashion. Indeed, as you proceed across, the arches appear to become smaller and closer until the final span is barely wider than a doorway, positing you on the far bank. Here you are amazed to find yourself not only on a wide plain capped by a large central hill, but arriving there well past twilight. How has the time slipped away so quickly? There is still a blue glow above what must be the western horizon, but overhead there is no moon and the sky is inky and full of stars. It's beautiful, but you decide that whatever has happened, you really ought to turn and retrace your steps. Yet, as you pivot to go, another surprise awaits you. Where once stood the elegant stone span that carried you across the brook, now there is only a rough bridge of boughs and planks, with thick and ancient ropes strung between uprights, leading away over a wide, wild river at full crest. What's more, others are approaching now from the opposite end of that bridge, processing with measured tread and slow, torches in hand, and a rhythmic chanting you understand, not by word, but only its sacred power. While there is no immediate shelter, the night is dark enough they are unlikely to see you if you stay beyond the torchlit bounds of their group. So you begin a climb away, keeping one eye on your footing and the other on this dark parade. Although your original intention was to let them pass and then try to make your return unnoticed, you cannot help but be intrigued by those now exiting what seems a far older bridge than the one you took to arrive at the same place. It soon becomes clear their destination is also up the hill you are slowly scaling, and curiosity once again decides for you. Since it seems clear they are headed for the peak of the hill, you turn your attention to make the climb as cautiously and quietly as you can, hoping to find an observational point that allows for safely distant surveillance. Their path winds up what is to them no doubt a known track, so they are soon slightly ahead of you in ascending the hill. Because of this, their torches alert you to a ring of large wooden posts that circle just below the peak, post you might otherwise have discovered the hard way, as one looms up only a scant few feet in front of you. Deciding this makes for as good a vantage point as you are likely to get, you make yourself comfortable at its base and find a way to peer around while remaining largely hidden. From here, you can see that their path has directed them into an alley of standing stones that you suspect is in line with the bridge below. This avenue leads them on to the hilltop's crown, a circle of standing stones, which these rough participants begin to traverse in a sunwise direction. As they pass, you see that their clothing is coarse and homespun at best, mere animal skins for others. And as they draw near, you see that close to the head of the procession, how could you have missed it? A young white bull is being led, its horns bound with greenery. When they have made 3 circuits of the stones, those at the front lead the bull to the circle's center, while others arrange themselves about the enclosure. The 2 strong-looking fellows who have led the bull up until now grasp its head firmly, exposing its neck to one who raises an arm on high. In an instant, you understand a sacrifice is about to take place, when you are not sure you ought be party to. Though you are here at this time, these are not your people, nor this your right. You turn back into the shadow of the wooden post that shelters you. There is an anguished cry from the beast, and then things are different. You can't say how at first, until you decide to chance another look and realize you are no longer protected by an ancient wooden marker. Confused, you look down. It is difficult to see on such a moonless night, but extending one cautious foot, you can tell there is a slight depression where an outer post stood not a moment before. Looking back to the hilltop, you see the group gathered there is much smaller now. There are still some holding torches, but the dozen or so assembled in the center no longer have a bull or any sign of sacrifice. Instead, while 3 are clad in some sort of robe, others quite improbably appear dressed in knee breeches and powdered wigs. One of the robed ones puts a large trumpet-like instrument to his lips and blows 3 blasts. "And the wizard blew his horn!" the others cheer, raising cups on high, while just beyond the trumpeter, a tall horse rears. This is so astonishing to you, you take a step forward, forgetting the depression in the ground. A slight stumble causes you to look down, but the sound of drums jerks your head back up again. The shock of seeing 17th century dress where moments before Iron Age priests presided is replaced by a fresh surprise. Not only does the sound of drumming suddenly fill the air, but a large and clearly contemporary gathering now fills the area within the ring of stones. Well, but is not taken up by a large and brightly burning bonfire. Feeling you have at last returned to your own era, if you ever lose it, you wander forward, glad of the warmth and cheer now to be found atop the hill. Yet before you join the crowd, some instinct causes you to stop and turn, looking out over every vista at hand. And yes, though they be distant, you can make out 4 more hilltop fires, seeming equidistant from where you stand. So with the one at your back, a fire now burns at each of the 5 points of a pentagon. The revelry here is of a joyous nature, with dancers and celebrants spilling out far beyond the ancient ring of stones, indeed nearly to the bounds once marked, as you now know, by a wooden henge in days gone by. And while clothing and hairstyles clearly reflect your own era, Some amongst them would not be full sacrifice or even earlier rites. In fact, were nothing but smiles as they caper and twirl. Whether you are prepared to join them in such total freedom or not, you step forward and follow the dance as they skip merrily around the huge central fire. The drumming builds, the fire blazes up when a cache of hidden fireworks near the top of the pyre's structure are touched off by the flames, sizzling across the midnight sky in all directions, every color of the rainbow. You stop, joining the rest in a huge cheer, watching as exploding particles of light blossom across the whole span of your vision. They go on and on some more, blasting, bursting, billowing forth, climbing higher and higher until at last all are spent. With the sound of their delightful explosions ringing all over you, you had not quite noticed, but the drums have been replaced along the way with a deeper, steadier booming. Too, though the fireworks are finished, the area is still brightly lit, perhaps even more than before. You look about, seeing now no trace of the fire that so brightly burned just a moment ago, though many of the participants look the same, perhaps a bit more discreetly clothed, though only just. Instead, there are enormous neon structures on every side, glowing ultraviolet environments beckoning you to explore the wonders within. And while a rhythm is carried forward from the pagan drums of a moment ago, it is now accompanied by spatial atmospherics and textures, providing a sensory swirl of music with an emphasis on the lower end of the sonic spectrum. Those around you continue to dance, providing a wave of ecstatic energy that seems it must spill off this hilltop and spread around the world. The music builds incessantly, the momentum and pitch rising, the tension mounting. A release is coming, driving the crowd to a frenzy. But as with the sacrifice when you first arrived, you decide this may not be for you and step through one of the psychedelic portals in search of a calmer environment. You pass through an arch of repetitive, undulating shapes of light, just as the bass and rhythm drop hardest, pushing the dancers over the top. Here, however, on the other side, find a turf maze or labyrinth cut into the step of the hill in an ancient design. As you have stepped through onto the entry point, the decision to walk it seems obvious. At first glance, the labyrinth seems but a simple spiral, but you soon realize it doubles, creating a cup and ring formation. You pause a moment before setting out, seeing the sky now paling to the east, a bright blue star just ascending over the horizon. You make the circuit once, looking back out at the revelers bouncing together under the glow of LED flora and fauna. The path then loops so that you pace back in the opposite direction, bringing you back near the entrance passage. This time, the view is once again of the bonfire, now burned significantly lower, with many revelers resting on blankets or reclining on the grass around the released blaze. Though the scene looks inviting, you press on with your small pilgrimage, again reversing course and taking a smaller inward loop around the maze. On reaching the entry point this time, you expect the Baroque celebrants that are now descending from atop the hill, but are surprised to see that some amongst them are women, clad in white breeches along with the men, except for one, now riding the prancing stallion being led down the hillside at the rear of the procession, wearing flowers on her head and but a cloak thrown over her shoulders. You smile to yourself, thinking what sort of party that must have been, but make another turn, pacing out another loop of the maze. This curve of the path does not take long to complete, for you are drawing near to the center. At this view, of course, you spy who may have been the original worshippers upon this hill, their ceremony now complete. The white bull has been bound by its feet to a sturdy pole, now shouldered by two at either end, making their way carefully down the hill, no doubt to provide a feast for their waiting community. You have at last reached the final loop of the spiral path you traverse. The maze has twisted in such a way you feel as if you aren't quite getting there, taking you on an introspective journey inward before you can return out into the world. And as you pace out this innermost turning, you reflect on all you have experienced here: the invitation to enter the mysterious garden, the trepidation you felt watching the sacrificial procession, the freedom you discovered dancing round the fire or at the techno rave. As you tread these last yards, you consider how each of these occurred within a circular space, how each event contained inside it the echoes of circles that have gone before. You contemplate the way the wheel turns, never ending, new and old and new again, as we spin through the night. Thinking of this, you look up at the sky, now noticeably brighter, with Venus, for indeed she, now well above the horizon. This night has flown by quickly, but of course it should, as it is the shortest. Odd to think that though the days are only now warming into summer for us, the year has already turned into decline, each day from now on a little shorter than the last, until we shall arrive once again at Yule. And with full knowledge that you have arrived at one of the turning points of the calendar, you take a final step on to the circle that holds the spiral's center. Here, for just a moment, you are ever more clearly in a time that is not a time, and a space that is not a space. For indeed, all time and space occur in the same instant in this dimension, some consider the fifth. All of your life's journeys are here momentarily compressed to a single instant, an eternal now. And here, all of us are together. A shared moment of joy and dynamic potential. Now, as you stand at this central pivotal spot, you have the sensation that all time is standing still along with you. And while there is no visible movement, you feel as if you are rising up and up, passing through all the ages that have preceded you, a circle within a circle with no beginning, but never ending. You rise up, buoyed on the energy of all that has gone before you and all that is still to come, ascending through time and space, though standing perfectly still, until at a final moment where nothing is different, and yet somehow everything is, you stop. Still standing at the very locus that had been the central station of the maze, you find yourself at a crowning, decisive point, one filled with dynamic potential. As you get your bearings, you find you are once more just inside the ornamental park gate that admitted you to this journey, yet things are not as they were. As you look about, you see that instead of plantings and park walls, exactly the same to your right. Yes, third to your left. You turn in place, unsurprised that a fourth gate is behind you. As you turn further, you realize that identical gates lie in between each of the cardinal four. You suspect closer examination might reveal another 8 or more in the interstitial spaces between those you easily see. In each case, the area immediately on the other side resembles the weedy alley first used to approach it, but just beyond that, things are dim and a bit formless. In an intuitive flash, you come to understand that each of these leads to a similar, yet slightly different future. The ones closest to you are quite like the past that you left behind when this journey began. The next level may show some slight but obvious variations, and those further out likely differ even more. Still standing in that calm, central spot, you now must make a choice. Which gate will you step through? Which future will you choose? Here, at this liminal moment, you can decide what will be once you emerge into the new land in front of you. Looking again to the skies, you are reminded it is the new moon, time for fresh starts and new beginnings, and all possibilities are on the table. Let us take a little time then and contemplate what future we would wish to see ahead of us. What changes would you make if you could? What would a healed world look like to you? A safe world, a world in which you would gladly spend the rest of your life. Picture it now in your mind's eye and in your heart. As this world, like our own, but changed in certain key respects, takes shape in your mind, feel it as well, taking shape on the other side. For you, but may also be another. Note if you sense a pull in a particular direction. When you have it envisioned and held within your heart, choose your gate and step through. With but a few short steps, you find you are quite nearly back on your own street. Look at the other world you have journeyed through, only to face the rising sun. It shines quite directly down the short path you traveled, rising so brightly, the bars of the gate behind you dissolve in its rays, and Venus fades from view overhead. And as the rays of the sun now rise above your mind's eye, you recall yourself to yourself. We have, together, traveled to a realm that is invisible to our outer sight, but while it may lay beyond ordinary reality, it is as real as all of us together can make it. There, you have arrived at a pivotal point, not only in the year, but perhaps in the larger scheme of things as well. Information gained and choices made can travel across the boundaries of time and space, help shape our daily lives, right where we are sitting now. So let us now take a moment to thank the Center for holding a presence in this sphere of creation and for providing the point around which all else revolves. Go if you must, but stay if you will. Hail and farewell. We thank, too, the below, whose presence in this sphere of creation has provided the nothing from which all arises. Go if you must, stay if you will. Hail and farewell. Our thanks to the above, whose presence in this sphere of creation has provided the light of awareness that blooms in all our hearts. Go if you must, stay if you will. Hail and farewell. We thank the West, whose presence in this sphere of creation has provided us the primordial experience and essence of love. Go if you must, but stay if you will. Hail and farewell. Our thanks to the South, whose presence in this sphere of creation provided us the energy and inspiration to carry our gifts out into the world. Go if you must, stay if you will. Hail and farewell. So too, we thank the East, whose presence in this sphere of creation has provided the ability to imagine, to think, and to visualize our dreams, and perhaps make them real. Go if you must, stay if you will. Hail and farewell. And we give thanks to the North, whose presence in this sphere of creation has provided the foundation upon which all else is built. Go if you must, stay if you will. Hail and farewell. And now the circle is open, but never broken. So merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. And thank you so much for joining me here today. Stephen, are you still out there?
Yes.
Hello.
Thank you, Sadie.
Hello.
That was very beautiful. That's a very nice journey into the other world. Hoping in 6 weeks we can do something similar here. In the physical space, maybe with some other people, right? And then maybe hopefully weather permitting, we could do it in our back lot. So we'd be out there, in nature at least. So, thanks so much, Sadie. How you doing? How you been since the last time we hung out?
Well, thank you. I put a lot of work into this one.
Yeah, I could tell.
I actually had to create a map of the pathways so I didn't lose track of where we were and going down.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. The delay is kind of weird. So
yeah, it got worse somehow.
Well, yeah, but like just talking to you, it's kind of like it's shifting my headspace in a strange way. So, to everybody out there viewing, July 1st, we're going to be speaking with some members of the crew that make Starwood possible. Sadie may be one of them, I'm not sure, but that will be at 7:30. Remember, Starwood is July 7th through the 13th, starwoodfestival.com. It's going to be via Zoom, so you can get your tickets there. And it just dawned on me, Starwood being a clothing optional festival, I guess it's going to remain that way, right? Because you can just hang out in your house.
We're encouraging people to participate, whether they're in their backyard or their living room. If you have a space to light a little fire Saturday night, you can light your own fire and join that. There will be broadcasting a fire. I may be repeating this meditation, or I may do another one. We'll see how creative I get between now and then. But
cool.
I'll have one.
So, Sadie, I do want to point out that we got some shout-outs here. Cara Ray Garland says, wow, haven't heard from Sadie in forever. So, hi, Cara. And then Todd Hansen says, excellent, very relaxing. Glad to hear that, Todd. And then, of course, Info Widget says, thank you so much. So, thank you, Amy, for saying hi. And, yeah, cool. I say let's wrap this up. It's a beautiful day. Let's get outside and enjoy the sunshine. So remember, tickets for the museum, appointment only, bucklandmuseum.org. And to everyone out there, stay witty, my friends.
Wash your hands, wear your masks.